Hello, Kiola. Lucia here, property investment mentor and founder of the Finax Mortgages and Insurance. This is the recording of 1 hour live webinars. If you would like to join us in our next webinars and be part of the Q&A, please head to our website, luciaxiao.co.nz. I trust you will definitely learn a lot from this video. Thank you. I'll probably introduce myself first, just in case that you are not yet our clients. Like you probably see our Facebook ad or the YouTube ad somewhere. Great, yeah. Hello, yeah, everybody. Right. So my name is Lucia Xiao, and I am a property investment mentor, financial advisor. So I'm a mortgage advisor and also insurance advisor, and also founder of Finax Mortgages and Insurance. Yeah. And also I'm an author of the book called Financial Freedom 5 Steps, 5 Years. And it's just a personal story of myself living in a stay house and managing $170 a week after we paid the rent. And at the time we had to supporting follow us to later on being able to build a $17 million property portfolio in 5 years. Yeah. So what I'm trying to actually, inspire the people, and like if I can do it, I'm pretty sure that you can do it as well. Yeah. Okay. So obviously, like my staff, I think we are a team of 25 people now. Last year this time we probably only had 4 or 5 of us. Yeah. So we had actually grow quite a bit in business, and of course, had a lot of support from some of you as well. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got quite a lot of people actually, our clients are logging in as well. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So joining us, because obviously we're still in lockdown and people are wondering, can I buy a house? Can I sell a house? Yeah. And yes, you can, yeah, but obviously there will be some legal issues, how can you handle that? So tonight joining us actually is Kitty from Ping Chen Lawyer. So some of you probably know Ping Chen. Ping Chen Lawyer, she's actually our former Prime Minister John Key's lawyer, so she's really good. Yeah. And obviously, like everybody in her firm, they are all like expert in their field. Yeah. So Key is actually a senior consultant, senior lawyer in the firm, and he's actually more focused on the property compliance, and that's why tonight he's going to share with you guys what to look for and how can you actually handle the situation like this during lockdown. Okay, here you are, Key.
Okay. Let me introduce about the firm first. PCW Law. That's what we call a one-stop lawyers firm. In that, we handle, of course, property. There is tonight's seminar when we're going to talk about property. Of course, we also handle trust, will, civil litigation, criminal law, family law, and so forth. So if you need services in those areas, please come to see us. We have lawyers specialized in different areas of law. Okay, now a little bit of myself very quickly. I graduated from University of London, and then I also practiced law on my as a partner in Wellington region, and then subsequently I moved up to Auckland. I had my own law firm, and then I practiced with the after a while. Then I joined PCW Law. I specialize mainly in the area of property, trust, including family trust, not exclusively, but it include charitable trust and so forth, wills, and also notarial work. And that is related to if you have any documents overseas, you need to be signed, come to see me, especially because of the pandemic worldwide. A lot of you, if you are from overseas, you cannot go back. How do you handle this kind of situation? I signed a lot of that power attorney for use in China, Korea, and elsewhere. So if you need some services in the area, I'm more than happy to help you. Okay, that is enough for myself. Regarding myself, tonight we're going to cover the topics about the property transaction during the lockdown. Of course, Auckland, we are still in level 4, unlike elsewhere in New Zealand, which is level 3. So, well, there's two things really. One is, are you still, is that still a good time to look at property? My answer is yes, yes. So apart from walking your dogs and things like that, you know, it's still very good for you to look at property. And in fact, one of my clients recently bid in the auction and was successful, and she was very pleased during the lockdown. So by all means, still a good time to look at the property and so forth. And how about settlement? Let me say a little bit very briefly in relation to settlement, i.e. when the transaction really comes to the very end. So typically, the purchaser will say, I'm ready to settle, and so forth. And typically, also the purchaser will say, if there's no tenants, I'm able to give you vacant possession. And also typically, the purchaser will have the final inspection, and then provided everything is all right, and sometimes not, then they'll raise some issue for you to fix, usually not big issue. Then on settlement day, everyone is happy. Now, if we are now in level 4, so how do we handle this situation? How do we, okay, right, okay. Will that affect my original settlement day during this period? All right. We have to look at the contract in two ways. One, if your contract have a COVID-19 clause, which is quite common now since the last lockdown. In the first lockdown, we were very unprepared. So we don't even know what is COVID-19 then. And now we are more prepared. And a lot of the contract do have a COVID-19 clause. Later on, I'll show you. But there's also another scenario. There's still quite a few contracts without COVID-19 clause. What should you do now? Okay. Right, will they affect your original date during this period? Now, I want to look at the situation whereby you do have a COVID-19 clause, okay? And then I will cover the situation where you do not have a COVID-19 clause. Okay, if we look at the next slide.
You can go next, you can hit the next button, yeah.
Oh, am I in control? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I forgot all about it. Last time, yeah. Okay. Right. Suppose the original date of your property is within the lockdown period and the property is not vacant. Okay. So actually you have quite a few situation really. It could be that the property is not vacant, but if the property is vacant, then it is easy to resolve. If it is not vacant, so there's one scenario, right? Or it is not vacant for a reason. The property could be subject to tenants, right? Tenancy. So in that situation, really there's no problem of have this transaction. I'm talking about not if you don't have a COVID-19 clause, but if you have a COVID-19 clause, strictly speaking, is governed by the clause. But unfortunately, not all the clauses are the same. I've seen COVID-19 clause, which is very brief. It's not like the one I show you here, which is quite a bit of a detail. It talk about it will be deferred for 5 working days or 10 working days. You can insert that, and then after this movement is permitted, right? Legally, personal movement is permitted legally. So that is the clause I'm talking about. So in terms of this level 4, it will be deferred because the contract says so. There's a COVID-19 clause to defer that to the 5 working days or 10 working days, depends on what the contract says. Unfortunately, some COVID-19 clause did not specify clearly how many working days it will be deferred. In that situation, you will have to negotiate 5 working days, 10 working days, 3 working days, and so forth. But this one by the New Zealand Real Estate Authority, this is quite a good one because it does specify clearly. So in most cases, by the time you are in level 3, I understand with the moving company, they are quite happy to move your house on level 3. So that there won't be a problem. And then you can also move out legally without any problem. So by which time, although the contract is deferred 5 or 10 working days, as the case may be, then you can settle that legally. Okay, so that is a good COVID-19 clause which govern clearly your situation. But I want to emphasize, you do have, which I seen one just today, the COVID-19 clause is too brief, and it didn't say clearly how many days it should be deferred and so forth. So, of course, that left to for you to negotiate how long it should be deferred. And also, I go back a little bit, there's no claim of compensation. So you cannot say, by the way, I want to be compensated and so forth. You can't claim any compensation because of the defer of settlement. Okay, let me move on. Now, so there are 2 clauses, 24.3, 24.4, I showed just now, basically defer the settlement to the 5th working day after the end of the lockdown to meet the condition of vacant possession. Of course, you do have a situation where you don't have that problem of a vacant possession. I will talk about that later on. And then you cannot claim against each other. Okay. Then in that situation, after it is deferred, so hopefully in 2 weeks' time, we can be in level 3. So in that situation, after we're in level 3, you defer to 5 or 10 working days, then we can settle, proceed as stipulated by the contract. Right. In the contract, Now, before we come to the settlement, a lot of contracts have conditions such as builder's report, limbs report, and so forth. During the lockdown, so it might be hard for you to get a builder's report, or you want to get a finance. Bank say you need a valuation, so it might be hard for you to do that. In that situation, you probably want to ask for the extension of time for you to comply or satisfy the condition of the contract if you are a purchaser. So that usually is not too difficult because they all understand we are in the pandemic situation. We are locked down. We can't do this what is not allowed, and therefore most vendor will be quite happy to allow for extension of condition and so forth. Okay. And at the same time, if at that time you don't have in your contract, there's no COVID-19 clause, you might quickly want to insert one with the agreement of the other party, of course, so that you cover the situation whereby if there is a further lockdown, what should be the case? Because at the moment, it's all up in the air. Whether we can control the Delta virus variant, we don't know. At the moment, it looks quite good. Okay. Right. Now I come to the situation whereby if you don't have a COVID-19 clause in the agreement, what should you do? Okay. As I say, we do have both situation where a lot of contracts have COVID-19 clauses, and there are some which don't have the COVID-19 clause. And in that situation, depending whether you are a vendor or you're a purchaser, and that is how you're going to argue, right? Whether you're arguing for the purchaser or the vendor. Say if you're a vendor, and again, there is a different scenario, just like just now, the house could be tenanted or untenanted, and so forth. Say if you have if the house is sold tenanted with a tenant, right, with tenancy, so there's no problem of there's no issue of vacant possession. There's no issue. Because in that situation, the tenant will stay on. So on settlement day, you can say, we are ready to settle. Then the vendor say, I'm able and willing to settle. And the purchaser, of course, will argue, by the way, I should have be able to have a final inspection, but because of level 4, I couldn't carry out the final inspection, okay? Or another scenario, the property is vacant because it's a brand new house. It's a brand new house. And in that situation, again, the vendor can say, I'm ready, I'm willing, and I can provide you with the vacant possession because there's no one living there, and therefore on settlement day, you have to settle with me. Again, if you're a purchaser, you might argue that, by the way, I should have a final inspection, but because of the lockdown, I couldn't have the final inspection. And that was in the last lockdown, we had that kind of situation. If you are acting for the vendor will say, I'm ready, willing, here's a vacant possession, no keys involved because it's all digital lock. I give you the PIN number. You just, once you pay me, I give you the number, 1, 2, 3, 4. You just get into the house. So you might argue, no inspection. I couldn't do any inspection. But the vendor will say, well, you have this implied warranty anyway. So what's the problem? The fact that you cannot carry out the inspection, that is not my problem. That is your problem. And then you might also say that I cannot move in. Again, the vendor will say that is your problem. Legally, I can provide vacant possession to you. Okay. And then, of course, there's also another scenario. The purchaser might argue, then it is an old house, and how can you give me the keys legally, right? Legally. Of course, the vendor will say, no problem, we'll send it by courier. And okay, it will be sent to you as soon as you pay me, right? So if you don't have a COVID-19 clause, and the vendor can provide vacant possession provided that is needed, or it is tenanted, the chances are you still have to settle. Okay, that is the basic situation. In the last lockdown, we have that situation where a brand new house, the purchaser bought a brand new house, tried to argue, well, I can't carry out the final inspection and so forth. And the vendor said, too bad, right? It's not my problem. In any case, you have the implied warranty. The fact that you cannot move in, again, is not my problem. And there's no COVID-19 clause at that time because it was very new, you know. So the purchasers just have to settle. And although cannot move in, but still there is a situation if you don't have a COVID-19 clause. And then if you have a COVID-19 clause, it will be certainly governed by the COVID-19 clause. Okay, I say this much. Maybe towards the end, I will go back a little bit. Okay, towards the end, huh? Okay. I'll say this much.
I'll probably leave it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Lucia, I hand it to you.
No, I saw I let you try, yeah, because I don't know which slide you want to go back to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. In terms of COVID-19, I really have finished in terms of COVID-19, but I want to emphasize, like what I say in the beginning, although we are in the pandemic situation, we are in the lockdown situation, really this, you know, law firm, banks, agent, brokers, real estate agent, they all continue to work, of course, without any contact directly. People still go for auction and still buying property. I think it's a good time, even in the lockdown, to look for property, right? You know, how many times can you walk the dogs every day, right? Probably once or twice. In the last lockdown, I was walking my dog, and one of the passersby said to me, "Is it the third time you walk your dogs?" So anyhow, apart from walking dogs, I'm sure this buying property or selling property should continue. Lives go on, right? And indeed, there are a lot of opportunity out there. And you can talk to people such as Lucia about the finance and opportunity to invest, and also real estate agent to look for this property for auction. Indeed, if you want to sell your property and so forth. Of course, as lawyer, we can help you as well. In most cases, we still can check the conditions and so forth. Of course, some of the things we couldn't do, like if you want to have a builder's report. If the builders need to go to the house or where someone is living there, it might be a bit of a challenge. But in most cases, it should be all right. And I will certainly encourage, even in this level 4, hopefully we'll go to level 3 situation. We still can look at the property and be focused on there. Okay. Sorry, Lucia, I just go back a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of our firm, this is PCW Law. I talk about we being the one-stop law firm. Buying property and settling property is conveyancing, right? It's general term. But you have to realize conveyancing is not all plain sailing. Sometimes, often, you also have problems. And our firm have litigators to help you. For instance, if you need someone to argue about your case, whether to settle under the with the COVID-19 or without the COVID-19 clauses, we can help you on there. So we have litigators in the firm and to argue your case for you, as the case may be. So conveyancing is not just the transaction. Often you do meet some problems which need someone with a litigation background, which is able to help you. Very quickly, I know I'm going back a little bit. Very quickly, this about myself. Apart from the property transaction, which I'm very happy to help you with the COVID-19 situation, and also related to subdivision, related to family trust, related to will. Just before the pandemic, quite a few of my clients came to see me before they go for their jab, vaccine. I don't know, Lucia, whether you have your jab yet.
Yes, I got my one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very good. I had my 2 jab, and
over 12.
I'm still alive, right? No problem. Of course, every vaccine has risk, but on the whole, it's very safe. But of course, some of my clients say, before they have the jab, they want to sign the will. That is fine. But I say, whether you go for the jab or not, you need to sign a will anyway, because to have a will is very important. You don't want the government, the law, to divide the property for you. You want to divide it yourself while you are, healthy and so forth. As I say, if you haven't got a jab yet, like Lucia already had, like myself, go for that. I'm not from the Ministry of Health, but I encourage all of us to have the jab. It's quite safe, right? Although there's some risk, that's no problem with that. Okay. Also, as I mentioned, I do a lot of notary work and so forth. And if you need the notary work, please come to see me. But tonight, I don't want to deviate from our subject. This is settlement on the COVID-19. I come back to this subject. We can help you if you need any help from us, whether you are a purchaser, whether you are a vendor, and also, of course, at the level 4, if you want to look for a property, Lucia can certainly help you. And if you need any legal work, checking documents, again, we can also help you in this area. Okay, Lucia, I hand over that to you.
Yeah. So, very good. Actually, during the lockdown, we already have 6 customers actually bought their property during the lockdown. Yes. And I believe that, some vendor, they are actually more motivated to sell. So some of the customer, they had a situation that, it was before the lockdown, they submitted this pre-auction offer and the agent said, go away, we're not interested. Yeah. And then once that, that announcement comes up, there's a lockdown coming, the agent run back and say, hold on a minute, I think we want to consider that. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity. And I think in my book, I talk about the where there's a crisis, there always an opportunity there. So if you are ready, if you have time, and also if you are in a position, you don't need the money because we can help you to find money because our job is helping our customer to find money. Okay. And we're really, really good at that because myself, I worked in the ASB for 15 years, was, looking after the business banking, was business manager. We do have other, staff in the, in my company, they come from business, BNZ, commercial banking, BNZ, business partners, ASB business bankings, and Westpac, all those main banks. We actually have a really experienced, staff actually working in finance. Yeah. So Mio and Sean is asking that in general, are those people understanding of the situation of lockdown and willing to deviate it from the contract, or are most people difficult and stick to the contract? Yeah.
Okay. It depends on whether the contract have a COVID-19 clause. If the contract have a COVID-19 clause, you have to be governed by the contract, by what the contract say. You don't really have a choice unless the COVID-19 clause is not clear enough, like the one I've seen today. It didn't specify how long it's going to be deferred, and that you have to negotiate. But most people are very reasonable. Then there's a second situation. If you have a COVID-19 clause, whatever the contracts, the COVID-19 clause say, you have to go by that. It basically say that the settlement will be deferred 5-10 working days. So if it is stipulated 5 working days, then you wait until level 3, where the personal movement is legally allowed, and then you can move out or someone can move in. In that situation, for sure, it's governed by that. Where it is unclear, then you have to negotiate. Okay.
Okay. So we got another question here from Katie. Was that other than the COVID-19 clause, what else should we keep an eye on the limit or sales agreement? That's quite a broad question here.
Depends on your situation, really. Of course, typically, I do advise you to, whether you want a limit or not, you just put whatever condition necessary. Even if you don't need that, you can waive it. Okay. But if you don't put it in and then you find that, I need that, then it's too late. So typically you have the finance condition, you have the limit report, you have the buildings report, and so forth. So you can put that in. But the problem is that the vendor doesn't like to see too many conditions. If you have too many conditions, you see, if I'm presented with 2 agreements, only one condition, finance. The other, the condition as long as my arm. Apart from the standard condition, you have further condition. The vendor will choose the one with just one condition, right? So it's a double-edged sword. Of course, as a purchaser, you want to protect yourself. You want to put as many conditions as possible, but you have to think carefully what you need and what you. Why in the standard agreement have lim, there's finance and buildings report? They are there for a reason, because those are the standard things you have to think about. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, I think we're suggesting customers to do their due diligence before they're making the offer. And I think Dr. Key actually did a webinar before talking about a limit report. And I think there's also another webinar. It's actually was Ping Chen was talking about a sales agreement. We are also looking at running something next week as well, just kind of like it will be on the class setting and then teaching people how to read those one. So we do suggesting that you learn how to, obviously, at least you learn how to actually read those documents. And of course, reaching out to the lawyer like Dr. Key, so they can help you to actually, understand, like, is there any pitfall there? Is there anything you need to be worried about? Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. So Jenny was talking about just finished reading my book. Yes, I did share that because in the 2008 there was global financial crisis, and there was crisis, and but at that time it was a great opportunity for me as well in terms of in my career, and also that because at that time we were building our home, so there was a great opportunity with that we were able to actually complete the bill. Yeah, because initially it was really, really expensive. We were unable to actually looking at a way to actually get a bill. So yes, yeah. So it's always crisis. If there's a crisis, there always opportunity. And when you look at the Chinese character, the first one is crisis, the second was actually opportunity. Yeah, that's correct. Right. I don't know whether we have any other questions. Oh no, we don't think. It doesn't seem we actually have any other questions. Yeah. I don't know whether Key, do you have any other like case studies you might be able to share or something? Yeah, in terms of the coming to the settlement. Yeah.
So in terms of the settlement, depends on, of course, whether I'm a vendor and I'm a purchaser. If I'm a purchaser, please make sure when you have a final inspection, you must let the vendor's lawyer know prior to the settlement what you think should be rectified. If you tell the vendor's lawyer on the settlement day itself, it's too late. It's too late. During the pandemic, I have a settlement of about 11 million. Okay. And there was no COVID-19 clause, but we could settle because both is tenanted. All right. So there's no problem of giving vacant possession, no problem of handing over keys. So everything done legally. Okay. Done legally. But the purchaser failed to notify us before settlement what need to be done. They have a final inspection, but they didn't notify us on time. And we could, and they even serve us a notice on clause 10 of the compensation and so forth, for compensation anyway. And we say, too bad, we're not going to do anything for you. Okay. And so as a purchaser, please be careful. If you okay, it works in this way. Before settlement, you're allowed one final inspection. Okay. Don't go too early or too late. Okay. Say, if you go a month before settlement, they're extreme anyway. Between that time and the settlement day, anything could happen. All right. So that's too early. Or too late. You couldn't tell the vendor's lawyer that you want XYZ to be fixed, and that's too late. And you can't serve the compensation notice and so forth. If you can, the vendor would just reject. They said, I'm not going to do anything for you. You should have said, you should notify me prior to settlement. So when should you have the final inspection? It is quite subjective in one way, but objectively speaking, I think probably few days. I say few days. I'm very hesitant to say how many days, okay? Because if I say, Dr. T said 3 days, okay? I didn't say that. Maybe a few days. So that it's enough time for you to tell the other lawyer, what needs to be done so that you're not running out of time, right? Not too early, as you know the problem if you go too early. So we had, as I say, we have that situation where you try to claim not successful. So look out for that, right? And also, let me say this: unless it's a brand new house, if it is not a brand new house, you have to be a bit practical, not idealistic, okay? Because it's an old house, you can't expect everything to be perfect, all right? Of course, when you inspected the property for the first time and then seeing the property, of course, I do appreciate you don't examine in minute detail, but if it's in general, about the same, you just accept it, unless suddenly you find a big hole somewhere, then you want that to be fixed and so forth. So give and take, you got to be reasonable and so forth. But remember, the timing is very important. Please don't do that too late or too long ago, like 1 month is too long ago, and then or too late. Some have the inspection the night before the settlement. Okay. You can see anything anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting that, you can see like, the lawyer, when they become a politician, they're very good because they're very good at protecting themselves. So they won't tell you exactly how many days. I tell you a few days, right? Yeah, okay. But anyway, we kind of have an idea. I think you probably know what Key was trying to share with you. Yeah. All right then. So we got Jenny thank you for sharing the mentally ready and financial. Yes, it's also important, how to get yourself mentally ready and absolutely, financial ready. Yeah. Awesome. We've got a David here is asking, is flood plan in the LIM is definitely a no for development or investment for future development? It really depends, yeah, because obviously you can still be on the flood plan, and so unless you probably acquired property quite cheap, because obviously building on the flat plan is required more money, and it's harder to do. Yeah, so if you actually acquire a property quite cheaply, then you are probably okay. Yeah. We got another question from Dan. It's asking that, do you think the housing market will go up after this lockdown? I don't think that's a question for Key. Yeah.
I wish I know. It is hard to say, because people are starting to look at inflation, right, going up and so forth. There are many other factors, but in long term, I still feel is a good investment, and I personally I'm not like Lucia, a financial advisor, but personally, I feel property is a good investment in whatever situation.
Yeah, because my opinion is that I talk about this, I think before we talk about in the residential side, there are two different markets. So one is residential house, the other one is the apartment market. But now you're going to see will be a three different market. So one will be the residential house with land. So that's definitely going up because the land cannot be, produce more, so it's really limited. Yeah. So anything with development potential, they are going up, I can guarantee you. And then you also have a apartment there. I think they still haven't recovered, the apartment market, that's actually, so we will stop our customer buy unit. We just said to them that you can actually build apartment, units or apartment. Yeah. Literally you can. Yeah. So we do have a customer, we help them, develop the units or apartment. Also you have another market, it's actually those new build terrace house. Yeah. Because that's quite a separate market now, because obviously not much land is new build. And with that one, at the moment that I think the price was steady going up to a point, probably 2-3 years time, it will definitely have oversupply, because obviously at the moment when you look at the building concerns being issued, they're quite a lot. Yeah, I mean there are data there, I can share with you. I usually share it, like kind of like in our like other webinars or in our workshops and stuff like that. Yeah, okay. So that's kind of like give you some idea, what will be coming up. Yeah, okay. All right, we got another question from Clifford asking, I want a vacant property, but the property is tenanted during the lockdown. Can the vendor get the tenants out before the final inspection? No.
The tenant, the vendor in level 4 cannot get the tenant out.
Cannot, yeah. So they cannot
It's
vacate
illegal.
the house. Yeah.
Illegal. Yeah, definitely cannot get the tenant out.
So what's the position the Clifford will have? Either take the house with a tenant or delay the settlement until like, the tenant can move out, right? Yeah.
That's right. If there's a COVID-19 clause, it will be governed by the COVID-19 clause. If you don't have a COVID-19 clause, the vendor is not able to provide possession, right? And then Clifford presumably is a purchaser, right? Yeah.
Looks like he won a vacant. I mean, he won a property and supposed to be like vacant possession. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you might want to try to say, well, I'm ready to settle. You can't give me. I'm saying the situation without COVID-19 clause. Okay. Okay. If there's a COVID-19 clause, it's a close and shut case where you say defer 5-10 working days. You just have to abide by that.
Yeah.
Where there is no COVID-19 clause, well, lawyer will argue.
Okay. Lawyer love it. Yeah, I think they're all very argumentative. There's just,
people. Of course, most of the situation is where the purchaser cannot settle. Then the vendor can charge you penalty interest. Most situation. But if vendor cannot settle, the purchaser is entitled to charge vendor penalty interest too. Okay, it works the other way as well. Okay, and so if you can say, I'm ready, willing to settle, but you cannot settle with me because you can't give me vacant possession, and you might want to try charging penalty interest.
Okay, so we got another question from MD. So would you please explain about COVID-19 protocol by the property law session? Thanks.
The COVID-19 clause specify very clearly that in the level where there's no personal movement allowed legally, then it will be deferred. It will be deferred. That is where you have a clause. As I say in the beginning, that clause will govern what you can and can't do. So in that situation, you don't really have a choice. So it's in the contract, and you have to defer that, especially where it's specified very clearly how many working days. Then you have to go by that. Unless it is not specified, then you negotiate.
Okay, hope that's answer your question. Thomas got a question here. If the S&P is a vacant possession, but due to COVID, the tenant wants to be our tenant, is a good idea how to handle these changes?
Yeah. Again, in the sales and purchases agreement, we have to go back to the two scenarios that I described. One with the COVID-19 clause, then it is governed by that. One without, then the tenant cannot move anyway in a level 4. So if you are a vendor, you cannot give vacant possession if that is what is in the contract. You know, some investment property have tenants in there, but the landlord has given sufficient notice for tenants to move out. But unfortunately, we're in level 4. The landlord cannot legally get the tenant out. Then you have a problem.
Yeah, I think it's kind of asking that whether it's a good idea the tenants become your tenant. I guess it's probably that you will need to do your due diligence in terms of like doing a credit check on the tenants, because obviously ultimately you don't want to bring on a tenants that, you know, they may not be a good tenants. Yeah, so I think that's
in terms of taking over the tenant, is it?
Basically, it's a vacant possession, but now the tenant's there, and then now they want to take over the tenant. I think yes, you can. You can always talk to the other side of the lawyer if they agree. Of course, I think they will be happy for it. Yeah, but just to protect yourself, it might be worthwhile to actually do the due diligence on the tenants and making sure that, you know, they are the good tenants, you know, before you want to decide to bring them on board. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a valid point. You need to make sure that tenant, they're going to be a good tenants for you in the future.
Yes, yeah.
Don't want to wreck your home after after the COVID-19, you can't recognize your house.
Yeah. Okay. So Mia and Sean was sharing their experiences that we had this issue that a final inspection, 1 week before settlement, lots of rubbish under the house. We had to tell them to tidy up, or we charged them to do it for them. Yeah. Okay. So that's good. The final inspection was done a week before, which is really good. It's quite a good timing there. Very good. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. We got Mia is asking, do you specialize in Maori land?
I don't myself, but we can help you in this area. But personally, I don't specialize in Maori land.
Okay, right. Okay.
But we can help you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, okay. I guess that's probably like us for tonight. And for some of you been following us, we got another upcoming event. But the next Thursday, we're actually running another event. This one actually will be run by myself, and it's actually particularly designed for the first home buyers. Yeah. So why you should, and also how you can to actually buying your first home in Auckland. Yeah. So if you are first home buyer, it's only for first home buyer, because if you are an investor, you will find it's really boring. Yeah. Because it's quite, what we found is, lots of first home buyers, they have a lot of, they don't know a lot. So we actually trying to nurture and provide a lot of knowledge, to this group. Yeah. So if you are a first home buyer, or if you know someone's a first home buyer, look up our upcoming events. Yeah, so that's actually next Thursday, but it's at 5:30. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Lucia, can I mention very briefly in relation to the ownership of the property?
Yeah.
Just very briefly.
Yeah.
It is very good because you have assets. You must have a will to cover that, because you have a house or other properties. The will decide how your asset will be divided. Otherwise, it will be divided by the law of succession and so forth, which is not good. I just say very briefly, if I don't divide the property according to my wishes, then the law will divide for you, right? And typically, for a will for husband and wife or partners, normally, typically, very common among the Kiwis, husband to wife, wife to husband. When both die, then to the children. And that is a very good division in that, because nowadays we live much longer than before. You want to make sure when one party dies and the other party will get the share, rather than some go to the children. Some people want to do that, which is fine, no problem. But because we live much longer, it's better you have some assets with you. We cannot rely on our children to look after us, especially when you are Chinese, right? Yeah. We have this concept that, so
I think at some stage, at some stage we might actually run another webinar just talking about the ownership, like different ownership and what will be the legal
implication. And also we can have a seminar on the family trust. Like, you have investment, you have, and so forth. Some of you could be developer and have multiple these properties. There is a risk involved as well, and so you have to think about family trust to protect yourself, your family, and so forth. Otherwise, all your hard-earned money could be gone.
We actually have someone's got question here. Dang is asking, do you pay more tax if you put all of your rental in a trust? It's more accountant's question. But
there is an accountant question.
Yeah.
But I say this. People set up family trusts, although tax is one of the factors, but mostly, number one, risk. Because when you're in business, you're building houses. Say, even if you are a small-time builder, you buy 3 sections, you build 3 houses. Now you have the implied guarantee of 10 years. Do you realize that? Once you build a house, whether is in the contract or not, is implied guarantee for 10 years. And let me say that to you. A lot of the time, the problem doesn't come in first or second year. It's until the 9th year. Then the problem comes. And then people look for you to fixing up. And it could be a huge sum of money. And therefore, you have to think of having family trust to protect you. So there's a risk factor. And another factor, the second factor, is with the among partners or spouses. Even between 2 lovers, love each other a lot, but one day one of you will die first. One of you, okay? And then after one pass away, if the other married again or have another de facto partner, then your property will be at risk.
I guess the trust is good, that it's a more protection. But in terms of that, if you're asking whether you pay more tax, not really. Even like if you got a nice cash flow coming in, and in terms of the trust, it's 38%, but very often that will be distributed to the beneficiary. So you still go back to their individual tax rate. Yeah. So you are not paying more tax. Yeah. On the if you put your rental in the trust. Just in short, that's probably answer your question. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
True.
But yes, I think trust is more about the protection, like how to protect your assets and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you own nothing, nothing under your personal or.
I have nothing.
Yeah. You have nothing. And everything is under trust. You are just a trustee, which is like a, administrator. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it looks like that's actually us for tonight. So I actually posting our upcoming the next event on the Thursday, which is how you can and you should buy your first home. So obviously we actually overturn a lot of customers believe that they didn't think they can actually buy in Auckland because Auckland is so expensive. But we actually changed their mindset, and also we also helping them to actually buy their first home in Auckland. So it's actually achievable. We're actually helping people on single income. Some of them might be only the 55,000, 60,000. They can still buy their home in Auckland. Yeah. Okay. So I also have the Pington Lawyers details in the chat box there. And also, I think there's a slide actually have Kitty's, Dr. Kitty's, his direct contact detail, you know, his email and also his cell phone number. So I hope you actually take a screenshot. But if it's you don't, you know, it doesn't matter. You can always reach out to their info, and I'm sure that they can actually you know, helping out from there. Okay, so thank you so much. You know, like and I should see you next time. Yeah. Okay. Good night. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See ya.